morning and welcome to the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors
Could you
meeting.
please turn your mic on?
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. Calling this meeting to order, we'll begin with closed session and report out.
Report out from August 13th, 2024. Item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel, re-existing litigation, Green versus County Workers' Compensation Appeals Board, case number ADJ 135-41418, board action, no reportable action. Item 2, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2, conference with legal counsel, re-existing litigation, one case, significant exposure to litigation, board action, no reportable action taken. Item 3, pursuant to Government Code 54956.8, conference with real property negotiator Marcos Munoz, potential purchase price and terms of payment for APN 010010ROW, negotiating party, California Department of Transportation, Charles T. McKinney, board action, no board reportable action taken. Item 4, pursuant to Government Code 54957.6, conference with county designated labor negotiators Teresa Hitchcock, Marcos Munoz, and Judy Hawkins regarding the following employee organization: Service Employees International Union, Local 1021, board action, no reportable action taken. Closed session for today, August 27th. Item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel, re-existing litigation, Calaveras Planning Coalition versus Calaveras County Board of Supervisors et al., Calaveras County Superior Court case number 19CV44471.
Thank you. Are there any public comments related to these items in the room? Is there any online?
We have no online public comment.
Thank you very much. We will recess to closed session and returning at 9 o'clock. Thank you. Good morning and welcome back to the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors meeting for August 27, 2024. If you're able, will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Supervisor Hubbard, will you lead us this morning?
Thank you, Chair. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll have a quick report out on closed session.
Report out for today's closed session. Item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel, re-existing litigation, Calaveras Planning Coalition versus Calaveras County Board of Supervisors, et al., Calaveras County Superior Court case number 19CV44471. Board action, no reportable action taken.
Thank you. We'll move to staff announcements. Lisa, kick it off.
Good morning, Chair. Lisa Medina, with respective board members and County Councilor, CEO. Lisa Medina, Environmental Management Agency. So I have a few announcements this morning. The first is we have our rabies-only vaccine clinic that's going to be scheduled for September 14th, Saturday, from 9 to 11:30. This will be held at Spence Ranch Feed and Supply in Angels Camp. This is a rabies vaccine-only clinic. No microchips and no other services will be provided. Again, that will take place on September 14th. The next vaccine clinic will be held October 12th here in San Andreas. So I'm really happy to announce that we have vouchers for our spay and neuter program for cats and dogs. In collaboration with the Calaveras Humane Society, we've been awarded a $175,000 grant from the California for All Animals. And this was funding that was designated from our governor for animal shelters and administered through the team at UC Davis Correct Shelter Medicine Program. This grant will provide dramatically increased assistance to low-income pet owners in Calaveras County, those who have challenges affording spay and neuter for dogs and cats. And this will greatly help our shelter, too, because we get quite a few of those puppies and cats. Vouchers can be used at nearly any veterinary hospital for a discount on the procedure, and depending on what the veterinarian charges, the procedures may even be free. So the vouchers will provide the following discounts on spay and neuter surgeries at participating veterinarians. And this includes Tuolumne and Amador and some of our sister cities as well. So we do have those lists provided not only on our website, but also on the Humane Society website. So for female dogs, $250 off. Male dogs, $175 off. Female cats, $175 off. Male cats, $125 off. The vouchers also will be good towards a $20 service for a rabies vaccine and $25 towards a microchip. So who qualifies? Calaveras residents. And how does it work? First, you must make an appointment for your pet surgery. And again, most veterinarians in Calaveras, Tuolumne, and Amador are participating. So this is great news. This is a great collaborative effort, especially between us and the Humane Society. Once you make an appointment, you can call us, CCAS, at 209-754-6509, or the Humane Society at 209-736-9417. So we are very happy for our Calaveras community and our other communities as well, and hope this program will greatly assist those in need, but especially decrease the number of animals that are unhomed, unhoused, or out there. My shelter is full all the time, so this will hopefully greatly reduce that number. A huge thank you and shout out to our partners at the Humane Society for being awesome humans and being part of our Calaveras team and mission to protect our Calaveras animals and our community. So really happy about that. Yes, it's a great collaborative effort, and that's what teamwork is all about. So our next announcement is we have an adoption event at the Calaveras. Next adoption event will be held at the Wild and Scenic Film Festival in September on the 14th in Angels Camp at the Bret Hart Theater. Please come by and visit our CCAS staff, volunteers, and some of our pups. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Are there other staff announcements? Are there any online?
We have none online.
Thank you all very much. We'll move on to recognition and acknowledgement. And I will pass the gavel to Supervisor Stopper. Madam Clerk?
Item 2, proclamation, OES, proclaim September as Emergency Preparedness Month in Calaveras County.
Supervisor Stopper, you have the gavel.
Thank you, sir. Whereas the Department of Homeland Security. Thank you, Susan. Whereas the Department of Homeland Security has designated September as National Emergency Preparedness Month across America. And whereas National Emergency Preparedness Month is an opportunity to raise awareness about the importance of emergency preparedness and to encourage all Americans to better prepare their homes and communities for emergencies. And whereas National Emergency Preparedness Month is also an opportunity to pay tribute to America's first responders who put themselves at risk for the safety of their fellow citizens. These brave law enforcement officers, firefighters, and emergency service personnel exemplify the compassion and commitment that help strengthen our country. And whereas in the event of any natural disaster, scale emergency, or terrorist attack, America's first line of defense is provided by first responders, including local law enforcement officers, firefighters, and emergency medical professionals, when properly trained and equipped, have the greatest potential to save lives and limit casualties after a disaster or terrorist attack. And whereas the Calaveras County Office of Emergency Services encourages citizens to make plans with and for their family members as to where to take shelter should a cascading event become imminent, and to make plans as to where to meet should family members become separated. And whereas because OES risk assessments include events that could cause disruption of life-supporting services, citizens are encouraged to develop to-go kits with supplies to support each other, family member, and pet for 72 hours. Eric, is there something you'd like to say? I'd just like to say that, OES reaches out to all the different, entities and people out in Calaveras County, and, it's great how you organize and, bring everyone into the fold for these events. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to take the opportunity to reiterate the first line responders in our county. As we've seen this summer, they continue to put boots on the ground and work their tails off in this heat that have kept the whole county safe. I mean, we've had dozens of fires, and we've only had one activation at a full scale. Their hard work really pays off, absolutely. And to our community partners, WPTV, all sorts of partners that work with us and build resilience and continue to better our planning. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to come into a position to have such support. So, and a special shout out, of course, to Baljeet, my coordinator here, who does an outstanding job and really, for the last year, kept the office running. So, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Baljeet. Anything from the supervisors? Any public comment? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move this item.
Thank you, Mr. Toffenali.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Garamendi. All those in favor? Aye. Passes on a 401 absent. With that, now therefore be it proclaimed that September is Emergency Preparedness Month in Calaveras County, and that the Board of Supervisors encourages all citizens and organizations to take action to become prepared for any disaster or emergency. Thank you. It's not just OES, but everyone in the community that works with them, and the coordination among all the entities and people in the community is crucial. And that you're the vessel that makes it happen. Thank you.
Come on down and take a photo. Yeah. Chris, come on in. CCWD, Robert? Yeah, they are. CCWD, more couches.
Yeah.
this side of the creek.
Fourth crossing matters.
Right.
All right. Captain, good to see you. All right, we'll move on to general public comment. Clerk?
Any item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and is not posted on the consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If public comment is completed before the 30-minute allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the next order of business. If public comment is not completed during the allotted time period, it will be continued as the last item of business in order to provide an opportunity for a remainder of comments to be heard.
Thank you very much. I think everybody understands. 3 minutes. You'll have a green light, yellow light, red light. I will cut you off if you're talking about an item that is on later on in the agenda. I'll ask you to stop and save those comments for that agenda item. So we'll move forward. Mr. Budner, would you like to begin?
My name is Christopher Budner, publisher of Calaveras 2024election.com. My allegations of campaign finance violations presented to the California Fair Political Practices Commission against 2 of 5 Calaveras supervisors, Hubbardie and Follendorf, have both been upgraded to commission-initiated complaints triggering state cases currently open, investigating their suspicious campaign finance filings. My allegations of campaign finance violations were found to be credible and serious within the jurisdiction of the FPPC's investigative authority. Hubbardie allegedly not reporting income while a candidate, and Follendorf allegedly serially filing falsified FPPC forms years beyond the legal filing deadlines with over $8,400 in residual labor union contributions to her 2020 campaign vanishing while she was her own treasurer. Now imagine if the majority, 3 of 5 Calaveras supervisors, were concurrently subjects of active state cases for campaign finance violations. On April 17, 2024, 43 days beyond March's primary election, Supervisor Tofinelli finally filed a Form 497 24-hour contribution report. For over 6 weeks, Supervisor Tofinelli failed to account for SEIU 1021's March 4th $1,021 contribution to his 2024 re-election campaign. Tofinelli's failure prompted my allegation to the FPPC concerning his March 5, 2024 violation as a campaign non-filer for his allegedly willful failure to file his legally required Form 497, subsequently and allegedly committing perjury with his submission of a falsified written excuse. Supervisor Tofinelli, there is no evidence in the county's campaign docs e-retrieval system of you ever filing your legally required Form 497 by March 5, 2024, your so-called self-titled Report 1. Yet suspiciously, a written explanation stated the following reason for amendment was, quote, late contribution over $1,000, end quote. Supervisor Tofinelli, I've explicitly alleged to the state in complaint 08202024-02696 that you falsified the claim of your late filing being an amendment to a non-existent Report 1, additionally alleging you've committed perjury by falsely claiming your late filing to be an amendment to a non-existent Report 1. The serious allegation, if upgraded by the state to being the 3rd concurrent case against a Calaveras supervisor, would justify demands for 3 immediate resignations for public corruption. My name is Christopher Budner, publisher of Calaveras 2024election.com.
Other public comments in the room? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request the removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion.
Thank you. Any board members wish to remove an item?
Item number 6, Mr. Tofinelli, I would like to pull.
Other items? Just 6?
Just 6.
Anybody else? Are there any members of the public that would like to pull an item?
4 and 14, please, Chair.
And 14. Anybody else? Anybody online?
We have no online requests.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on these items? Seeing none. With the exclusion of items 4, 6, and 14, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Moved by Supervisor Hubbard, second by Supervisor Toffenali. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 4-0, one absent. We'll move on to item number 4. Mr. Butner, you had a question.
Item 4, action item, Administrative Office, authorize the Board Chair to sign the response to the June 30th, 2024 Grand Jury Report regarding animal services.
My name is Christopher Bednar, publisher of Calaveras 2024election.com. The 2023-24 Grand Jury Final Report on Calaveras County Animal Services was publicly released 19 days beyond its June 30th deadline. This missed deadline overlaps the July 16th publication of the humiliating 21-page California Commission on Judicial Performance Report admonishing presiding Calaveras Superior Court Judge Timothy Healy. Per California Penal Code 933C, the Board of Supervisors has 90 days to respond to the grand jury's final report, setting the response deadline at October 17th. So why the rush? The grand jury's final report on the animal shelter is a whitewash, as is the board's premature and reckless response skirting the dominant issue of endemic negligence and inhumane treatment of animals. This board's diversionary response and tactics distracts from the tragedy underlying a government riddled with public corruption that for decades has inhumanely treated generations of innocent, helpless, and wholly dependent animals in its custody. Shame on you all. The grand jury in Calaveras government has again squandered the public's goodwill and faith, spinning an illusion of hope you'd all finally do the right thing for our vulnerable shelter animals. If not for the wonderful, dedicated volunteers who tolerate the same deplorable conditions animals are forced to survive in, the situation would be far more critical. I found the animal shelter, so follow along. $4.16 million is already allocated. Terminate LDA Partners contract, that's $500,000. Put out a competitive bid for a revised, appropriately scaled animal shelter. Terminate all plans and funding for the DA's new office building due to numerous allegations of her quid pro quo corruption, and that's $6 million more. Next, fully defund the CVB and Chamber of Commerce of undeserved TOT revenue for another $450,000 annually, and just like that, over $11 million for a new compassionate and caring Calaveras animal shelter. In conclusion, this shameful board is demanded to withdraw its whitewash response to the grand jury until a public hearing has occurred. I have already launched a national public relations campaign engaging preeminent animal rights organizations, including PETA, focusing on nearly 4 decades of willful animal cruelty caused by an inhumane Calaveras government that refuses to prioritize funding due to its endemic corruption. My name is Christopher Butner. I publish Calaveras 2024election.com.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Any further public comment? Can I have a motion on this item?
So moved.
Moved by Supervisor Stopper, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Hubbard. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 4-0, one absent. Item number 6.
Item 6, action item, Administrative Office. 1, accept the work of Ford Construction Company, Inc. for the Rock Creek Landfill Phase 3 Surface Impoundment and Phase 3A Expansion as complete. 2, authorize Board Chair to sign and record the associated notice of completion. And 3, authorize Administrative Department to release retained funds.
Thank you, Supervisor Stopper.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Kashi, thank you. Job well done. The time frame, phenomenal. This has been, it's only been a few years since you've come to the head of, this whole project and everything. It was shaky in the wind. There wasn't a clear path forward. You organized everyone. You stuck to the straight and narrow, and successfully, and, just in the short time that you were gone, I do want to put a thank you to Jennifer Ellis, that picked up the reins while you were gone, and then, help carry the baton, so to say. Phenomenal job. It's rare to see something go as smoothly as it has, There's a few bumps in the road here and there, but, with a government project like this, thank you.
I would like to throw my voice in there as well. I mean, it's rare that you go up and you look at a landfill cell and go, wow, that's beautiful. But it's a neat piece of construction. Well done. Okay, any other questions? Supervisor Toffenali.
I do. And Jennifer, I echo what they've said. But I do have a couple of questions because this is the release of the retaining funds. We had some issues. Some of it was leakage and some other issues. How do I know that all of those have been taken care of before we release these final funds? That we're not going to next year when we start having rain, we have some issues and then we could be stuck with them. So I just a little bit on knowing some of the problems we've had out there, that they're been taken care of. Do we have any guarantee from them that?
Sure. So we went through some extensive testing, dye-bold testing. So we went through and actually placed dye through all of our different drain ports and then watched as the water came through. And through this extensive testing that we did, we identified that the water, and it's actually leachate, it's coming from cell 2. So it really isn't coming within that contract zone. And we did do our due diligence with all parties involved, with our quality assurance staff, county staff, and Ford staff. We all together did 2 different sessions of testing to ensure that we were comfortable, all of us were comfortable with where this leachate was coming from. And it was identified as Phase 2B or A. We're not exactly sure because it's all conjoined there. But we are, confident that's where it's coming from. The system is acting as it's supposed to. It's all contained and it's doing its job. So that's also comforting. So again, it wasn't something that we were leaking and it was getting outside of our system. It was just identifying that there was some fluid coming through and we wanted to make sure where that was coming from.
Okay. All right. So you're confident everything is fine?
Confident everything is fine.
Okay. That's all I needed to hear. Thank you.
I would actually, if I could add something, I just want to thank your board actually for supporting this project all the way through. As Ben has, or Supervisor Stopper has mentioned, this has been in the works. It's been talking about for almost a decade.
Yes.
And I think that I just want to extend my appreciation to your board for identifying this as a priority project. And your board has taken the initiative to ensure that we have a safe and sustainable place for our waste for at least the next 40, 50 years. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank Ford Construction. We worked really well together. They were fantastic, awesome communication through the whole time. I think that we did a fantastic job with minimizing change orders for the gravity of the project. So I'd like to extend my appreciation to them as well.
Stopper?
Thank you for that, because, as it's said in the past, when Ford Construction is better, they move mountains.
Sure.
And I'm washing out my backyard with one. But, when they get to work and they have to go, they have been a good partner in a lot of different construction and everything with us, so that's appreciated. And with that, if I may, I'd like to make a motion.
All right, we have a motion.
I'll second.
A second. My last word would be, as like 75% of our residents who haul their own garbage, I appreciate the transfer station staff and as well as Rock Creek staff and all your other teams around. Seems like things are going well. Thank you.
Thank
Very proud of our trash system. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries 4-0, 1 absent. Thank you very much, Jen.
Thank you.
And thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Jennifer.
All right, we'll move on to item 14.
Oh, what's going on again? Sorry. Sorry, Chair, one moment.
That's all right.
Our camera was, okay, there we go. Item 14, Agreement, Public Works. Authorize the Board Chair to execute Agreement 10202409 for hauling services with R. Sutton Enterprises, LLC, in amount not to exceed $250,000 for the period of July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2026.
Thank you. Mr. Budner, you had a question.
My name is Christopher Budner, publisher of Calaveras 2024election.com. I objected to today's consent agenda, item 14, specifically requesting that it be pulled because it requires further discussion and community input before being voted upon by the board. The Follendorfer D4 County Supervisor 2020 campaign kicked off a sumptuously catered fundraising event in Vallecito held on January 4th, 2020 at the Sutton Barn. The Calaveras Enterprise reported on July 8, 2020, that supporters mingled over food and drinks while a DJ played music in the background. Amanda Follendorf's FPPC Form 460 for the period of January 1, 2020 to January 18, 2020 includes a Schedule C itemizing the below fair market value of the food served and failing to account for the fair market value of the facility, which may be well argued it represents a substantial non-money contribution received by Follendorf's campaign from one or more members of the Sutton family and was not reported by her campaign as legally required on Schedule C. As an event professional with 40-plus years of experience, the Follendorfer D4 County Supervisor 2020 campaign kickoff event in January 2020 is estimated to have a minimum fair market value in excess of $6,000 for venue, catering, beverages, table and chair rental, DJ and incidentals, of which less than $2,000 has been accounted for. So in light of these facts, I think it's unwise that you vote on any contractual matter benefiting any member of the Sutton family today, as darkening clouds of campaign finance violations and state investigations loom above your compromised tenure as Calaveras County Supervisors. If you will agree, you'll pull the agenda item for another day. If not, carry on. Regardless, additional FPPC complaints await. You already know where to locate the evidence. It's waiting for anyone to read on Calaveras2024election.com. You can easily find it by Googling, quote, Amanda Follendorf campaign finance irregularities under scrutiny, end quote. It will be the first return on the first page of your search results. My name is Christopher Budner, publisher of Calaveras2024election.com.
Are there any questions on this item from the board? Any further public comment? Is there a motion?
Sir, especially as Ms. Follendorf isn't here to vote on it, number one. Number two, that was 4 years ago. I'd like to make the motion.
Moved by Supervisor Stopper. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Hubbard. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 4-0-1 absent. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to regular agenda.
Regular agenda item 15, resolution, human resources. Adopt a resolution approving, 1, a new salary schedule for classifications within the Service Employees International Union, Local 1021. 2, the salary schedule implementation process as outlined. And 3, to describe changes to the position control list, including reclassifications, elimination of positions, and updated job descriptions.
Judy.
Good morning, Chair Garamendi, members of the board. Judy Hawkins, Human Resources and Risk Director. I am very happy to bring to you today the final piece of the implementation of our class and comp study. And so we were able to come to an agreement with SEIU, so I'm bringing before you today the new salary schedule to adopt the implementation process, the elimination of positions, updates of job descriptions, and then also an additional item is those employees that will be receiving less than 1.5% increase to their salary schedule and are not currently at E-step will be placed at the next step. And this is to make sure that it does not impact what would be their next step increase.
And so I am happy to answer any questions. Oh, and I would like to also mention that that process will be implemented in all of the bargaining units effective the same date as this item.
Questions from the board? Judy, this wraps up the class and comp.
It does. And we have had fantastic relationships with all of the bargaining units. SEIU, I have to really thank their representative. She made sure that their members understood the impact of this, and she did an awesome job of partnering with the HR department.
I would like to express my gratitude to our labor partners in really making this happen. Supervisor Stopper?
Just, it's been quite the undertaking for quite some time, and it took the collaboration of everyone from HR to the unions to the employees, and to get to this point, and you know, it's appreciated all the way around. It's
got it done.
Yeah.
Yes, and your board was instrumental in making sure we got through this. The admin office was fantastic to work with, and so it took the entire village to make this happen.
Outstanding.
Thank you. Could I just say thank you as well? Thank you for taking the extra time and going to take care of some of my constituents that had questions and issues, and I just really appreciate you and the SEIU really looking at everybody and taking care of everybody. It's been a really, what appears to be an amazing step for everybody. Thank you.
Yes, it's our pleasure. The HR office, my staff was fantastic in jumping and going to wherever they needed to go to be able to work with people to address all of the concerns. And so I think we have done quite an amazing job here, like I said, the entire village.
All right. Is there a motion to approve? Or, excuse me, public comment? Seeing none in the room, is there any online?
We have no online public comment.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll move this item.
Moved by Supervisor Toffenelli, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Stopper, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries 401, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Big one to check off, big box to check off.
Big box. Thank you.
Congratulations to everybody.
Yeah. Good job, board. Good job, staff. Got her all done. Okay, we'll move on to item 16. Do you guys need a second to set up? We're going to take 5 minutes, and we'll start off on item 16. Greg? Thanks. All right, welcome back to the Board of Supervisors meeting. We are on item 16.
Item 16, informational item, Public Works, receive a presentation on the State Route 4 Wagon Trail Phase 1 project.
Craig, welcome. Take it
Good
away.
morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. It's been since May that the board's had a comprehensive update on the Wagon Trail project. So I thought I should start this morning just kind of hitting the high points of, where we are. And I know the public hasn't heard this in some time as well. So I think it's brief, but hopefully informative, for you and the public. I'm going to start with a graphic called just project status. And let me see if they can. Starting from the left to the right, that'd be from the west to the east. You'll see highlighted the first 2 miles of the Wagon Trail project that is in full service, as we speak. So 2/3 of the 3-mile main line is now in service. You'll notice in yellow, about midway, you can see Hunt Road, which right now is being connected. You get people coming on Hunt Road, take a turn onto the old highway, where they used to get right onto the highway, and that brings them to the main line today. But the plan is, and it's partially graded into place, is the new connection Hunt Road, at Highway 4, much closer to Copperopolis. So that's still under construction. Once you get up near the top of this graphic, you can see different colorization where some work has been underway. This Pool Station Road, where it comes in right now. There'll be some adjustments made at Pool Station Road connection when we start to bring this last section of the new highway online to the immediate east of Pool Station Road. That intersection is an area that's called Cut 5, and you'll see some pictures of that, and that's where a lot of the dirt is being generated right now. As you continue on, you hit a big area of yellow, and that is the area where we have that MSC wall and the channelization that's being created for Nassau Creek. Beyond that, you can see that's the very last segment of what will become the new main line for Highway 4. Basically, it's at rough grade, now. The real controlling factor, is that MSC wall and creek channelization, area. So just big picture, you can see, again, 2/3 of this thing is, being used right now. And the most controlling feature here is the MSC wall construction. So with the help of friends, we've been able to come up with a 2-minute flyover of this 3-mile route, so you can actually see it from a drone. I'll pause it in just a couple locations, but this starts near the Bonanza Mine area and then heads eastward. So I'll just go ahead and set this off. So you can see us transitioning onto the new highway. You can see that this is elevated. Some of that was both just for the general grade desired for the road, but also we were able to hide some of the special environmental areas have been covered with fill in that area. You continue up, you have Tuscarnia property on either side. You'll be coming up to an area where they have, I'll just let us get there. Again, if you only drive this fast, there's a tunnel for their cattle, go from one side to the other. Now you can see Highway 4 on that upper left corner. That's the old Highway 4. That's that Hunt Road traffic that's coming in right now to the temporary connection with the new main line. And I'm going to pause this in just a moment when we get to Pool Station Road. Okay, I'm pausing here because this is one area that is currently designed, will have to be raised a couple feet to connect at the desired grade, planned grade for the new highway. I'm going to continue on. Immediately following this eastward is what we call the Cut 5 area. And it's just coming to view on the right there. So right now, this area, you can tell it's already been disturbed. This is where there's significant cut occurring in this area to lower it down and gain the desired grade in that area, and also to generate fill in other areas of the project. And you'll see in another video where they're actually taking material from this area and then taking it to the MSC wall area. Let's just go a little bit further. And then you can see this will be probably the greatest logistical feat when the day comes where we have to connect both sides of the new road segment, where we're going to have to divert traffic. They're figuring out how best to do that so they could accomplish the grading that will actually connect these two sides, and that'll become the new main line of the highway. Now, continuing on, and this was shot about a month ago, so it's kind of good to see this a month ago. We're coming up to the MSC wall area. This is one of those environmental areas that we want to protect. This is where the wall is going to go. You can see an excavator working in this area, and that's a pool of water. And that's something that from the first day first week I was here, I went down and saw this area with Robert Pattinger, and you could see them dealing with spring water all over the site, having to create pools where they could pump it out, spray it. And it's just an area that just has ongoing, water challenges, but they persevere. You're seeing just off to the side, at the very top here, you've got equipment starting to build the beginning of a footing where they're going to tow a slope, where they're going to build up that side of the wall area to achieve the grade of where the road's going to go right along this general area where the wall is, and then cut back into the new road. This road to the right that you're seeing, that's just a construction road at this time. So as you get out of this area, then you're back onto what will be the ultimate, main line. This is heading towards the Appaloosa area. And there you can see where the new road is intended to be located. There's Appaloosa coming in. And then we'll let this run just a little bit more. And I think you're all very familiar with the Cherokee Bridge project that Caltrans took on as a separate but complementary project to Wagon Trail. There's the new bridge. You can see the width of that new bridge compared to the width of the existing one with the blacktop. So it's about twice as wide, so a much safer bridge. We'll talk about this I'll just mention it now that with the extended construction period on Wagon Trail, Caltrans is going to just go ahead and finish this project, tie it back into either side of the bridge. Will not go all the way as originally intended, but they need to get the work done and let the contractor move on. So I'll let this just run out on the main line, and then you're going to see just a quick segment on Hunt Road. So that's what you just saw below was Highway 4, and now you can see the graded area in here where the Hunt Road is coming back to the new highway alignment. Here you can also see some cuts that are occurring in there, so there's been a lot of dirt movement in that area. There is some storage of dirt in this area as well that will need to be cleaned up before this area is finalized. And then this shows how Hunt Road coming in at the top here, and this is where it will ultimately come this way, and then that way the old highway alignment can be rescinded and torn up. So that is just a quick flyover. I mentioned Cut 5. This is the area that's just east of Pool Station Road. You can see these cars on the left are on the existing highway, and you can see that goes down, down, down. You can barely make out just some dust occurring. The grade, it just gives you an idea just how steep the grade is, and yet you can see a vehicle parked here on the left, and that's where the grade of the new road basically is going to come in. But just, this will be a much quicker video, but just showing, this is their largest piece of equipment out there, that D11 dozer, and then just going ahead and loading up trucks. And so right now, that's where the dirt is coming from. And then you'll see in a moment, where it is going. Okay, so this is going to pick up on the eastern side of the MSC wall area, and this is the dirt that you just saw being loaded on one side of the highway and brought over. And there's been a lot of this activity in the last month. This area that he's driving on right now didn't exist in that aerial view that I showed you before. They've been filling it up, getting it close to grade, as close to the MSC wall area as they can. And you can see the MSC wall in the background. I have some close-up pictures that we'll show you in a second. Okay. So now what you're looking at is actually, this is at the bottom of what is going to be the new wall in this area. The concrete that you see there is a leveling pad. That's where they're going to start putting the blocks on. Between that leveling pad and then the slope that you see on the other side, it's between those areas. That's where they're going to create the channel that allows the water from Nassau Creek to travel behind that wall in its own channel, concrete channel, and then it'll come down the wall, and then somewhere where you can see the cursor up there. Somewhere in that area is where it'll cut back and go back into the native channel. But they have to get it between that protected area and the MSC wall. And right now, that's the most important thing that absolutely has to happen because winter is coming, and we have to get this part done. I thought I'd just be interested. You can see on this far end, I'm circling a little point, and that is the low point of this operation right now. That's what it looks like close up. So the water challenges from springs in that area continue to be a challenge. That's just basically a large French drain that's collecting that stuff and taking it away. And our construction manager is saying that's operating perfectly the way it's supposed to get rid of that water. And then this is just, again, a site, a view, the MSC wall site. And again, just about where this piece of equipment is right now. From there, the road's going to go right past that wall, so that back where that the leveling pad is, imagine that wall 30 foot higher. That's going to become the point where the road comes up to and then continues across to connect to the other main line. So this is where the real action is. This is what's controlling the pace at which we can finish this thing. This is going to take months to complete. So what's the major work yet to be completed? I kind of touched on this. First is that concrete channel for Nassau Creek, and then the removal of the temporary diversion pipes and things that we put in place at the end of winter. But if winter starts, it may be able to handle it for a short time, but if you get into full-on winter, we've got to have that new cement channel in place. The next thing, again, is the MSC wall, complementary. They have to construct them with one another, staged properly. We have the new Hunt Road connection at Highway 4. It needs to be done. That can be done independently of this other work. And then the last thing will be, once the wall is done, the road's brought up to grade, and then it can be paved off. The last thing will be switching the traffic to the new highway segment between Pool Station Road and Appaloosa. As far as what drivers can expect in the near term, right now, the only thing that we're just making sure that they are aware that those trucks are going to continue to haul dirt across the highway. That seems to be going on without any accidents right now, but just want to make sure people are careful in that area so we don't have any accidents. Funding, we've been able to get everyone up to speed on their billing. So what you have is a funding table that you've seen parts of before. This has all of our expenses that either have been paid or incurred, but not paid yet, all the way through the month of July. The only exceptions to that, I think we have one billing outstanding for the tribe for July monitoring, for Dokken for their engineering, and there's one pay estimate that's missing for bid work from Sukkot. But otherwise, this includes everything. And what this shows is that we're about 41% expended, remaining So we're about 59% expended, 41% left. If you were to treat right-of-way as basically encumbered, because it is set aside just for that, there's reasons for the sizing of that amount that's remaining. If you were to show that as incurred as well, that would take it down to about 36% balance remaining. So you can tell we're getting closer, now, as we should, because we're looking at 2/3 of the main line is online, and a lot of the remaining third is constructed or well underway. Now, this does represent the numbers that are in the budget. So you can see all the various state funding sources there with STIP, SB1, SHOP, RSTP from the COG, but it shows a little over $13.7 million, which is 100% of what is available in our road impact mitigation fund. So these reflect the numbers that are in the unspent, unobligated amount of the project has been budgeted, but in coordination with this project total that you're seeing here. As far as anticipated completion, the Nassau Creek Channel, they hope to be out of there by November. They may need to get permit extensions to be in there, but we definitely need to get them out of that channel, get that concrete channel in place and get that back water so that they can flow back into the native channel. The MSC wall, based on the last schedule that we have, would not be completed until April. And that's a process that I do have, by the way, have Robert Pattinger here, Deputy Public Works Director, and also have Howard Zabel, our project manager, is online and can speak to this as well. But it will take several months to go through the process of putting in the blocks and then putting in your fill. This is a different type of wall system that I'm familiar with, but it has a very particular way that it has to be constructed. But ultimately, we hope to see a shift to the final segment of the new Highway 4 alignment in June of '25, and I hope to then deal with the incidentals after that in short order. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So the project is well underway to being completed, but all focus is really on that MSC wall and channel area. Do you have any questions?
Questions from the board? Martin?
Craig, thank you. I just had one quick question. Could you remind me why we have to do the new Hunt Road connection as opposed to the way they're accessing it right now?
It's just part of what was part of the original design approved by Caltrans. I know Caltrans, I wasn't there when they made that decision, but I know Caltrans likes to rescind their old highways as quickly as possible. For the people that commute on that road, it's going to be a much shorter connection, to and from, than having to backtrack. And then also the distance between the Pool Station intersection and Hunt, as it is today, is closer than what the traffic engineers like. I mean, I could have been in that conversation. I'm sure that all this comes into play, and they'd like to, get it constructed the way that it is planned.
Thank you.
Craig, I had a quick question. I noticed in the RIM that we've obviously committed all our RIM, but we're putting in this budget anticipated RIM fees. Is that correct?
Correct.
Get to the 13.7, because I think we got 13.2 roughly.
Right. So there's about $500,000 of projected income for this fiscal year that we're in right now would be part of that.
We feel confident about that?
I've checked it with both people that work most closely with it, and they feel that's legitimate.
Okay, because that's all we got.
Exactly.
Gary?
Yeah, my questions have to do with in your flyover thing that I was watching and looking at. You say it's a month old, but I'm concerned about east of the wall, going towards Appaloosa Road and the bridge that Caltrans put in.
Right.
None of that is near the wall. Yet on the video, there wasn't anybody even working on it. It was partially graded. And then it stopped, and then nobody's working there at all. It's just like sitting there. And instead of us constructing all east up to the wall and make sure that's all done and connecting to that bridge that we were supposed to connect to, it's just sitting there. It's like, why are we just focused completely on the wall? Why don't we have crews working on both the west end or Hunt Road, finishing all of that off, and then on the east end and finishing all that off? So all we have is the wall left. And once that's done, we just connect it up instead of waiting all the way till April or whatever to finish it off in June. I'm not sure what the schedule and the construction part of that is not happening.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe I did a disservice by putting so much emphasis on the wall area, because that's the most important controlling feature right now. But there is work happening. Actually, I just drove down there Monday when I was coming into work to see, and they actually were actively working on the Appaloosa side, starting to clear out, stuff, and so there's some activity there.
Starting, that's my concern though, Craig. They're just starting. That bridge has been completed by Caltrans since way earlier this year. That's my concern. Why are we just starting on it? Why is it not Unico as a construction manager and Dewberry having Sukkot do their job and complete the sections instead of just whenever they feel like working on it? It seems like whatever they want to do, they're allowed to do, and the construction management portion of it and the project management portion of it isn't even, okay, just do whatever you want. I have concerns about it. Even being done in June. We've been told so many different things that just haven't, and now I'm looking at it, and it doesn't seem like there's much construction management going on.
Okay.
And I know you're new to it, you're just walking into it, so I'm not dumping all this on you.
Yeah.
Howard's here, but Howard, Howard, are you online?
I'm here. Can you
I don't
hear me?
recognize you. What is that? You haven't shaved. Are you going to shave when this job's complete? Is that?
Pretty much, yes. It's a new look. I apologize for not being able to be there in person, but Supervisor Toppinelli, to your point, it's a very good question. What it comes down to is, you heard Craig talk about the controlling operation, the wall in that area is a controlling operation. So in essence, what that means is even if they were to do work further to the east, in the Appaloosa area, it would not, the project would not finish any quicker. So the focus when managing a project, you have to focus on the controlling operation or operations, and that's the work that, if delayed, will cause delay to the project. And so essentially the durations for that work further to the east that you're referring to are shorter. They'll be, and they will start in a way to where that, that will not be the controlling operation. If Sukkot was working down there, we'd still wind up in the same place for completion.
I'm not sure I agree with that scenario, but Howard, being in construction myself, we're focusing on one section instead of completing the rest of it. And so that may be controlling, but you don't know if the other section, because you haven't done much work there, is going to be another controlling section. And then you're going to be telling us in June, well, we didn't anticipate, we just started working on it, and then we found this, so now it's going to take over, and we won't be able to because we got to deal with this. Instead of dealing with it now and all the time that we should have, and just completing it and constructing it, so when we get to the wall, we know we've already dealt with that. We're not putting it off. It just seems like you're putting it off. And in construction, I just don't, I've never been on a job where you put certain sections off. If you could get to it and construct it, excuse me, you construct it. But where we're at. And so we don't even know, again, When we get to, they start grading that and getting to that section and connecting to that bridge, we know that's an area because there's a creek, that's why there's a bridge there. We don't know what's going to happen, but yet we're going to wait till the end to determine, okay, well, oh, we got another problem, instead of
No, it's-
construction it now.
That's something we had, I'm just sharing with you kind of the general approach of scheduling a job and, and resources. Also, just availability of resources in general. But your point is well taken. I do understand the concern, and I will go back to the construction management team, and we'll have that discussion, and with Sukkot as well, and see if that makes sense. And I guess the way I'm looking at it is, when does it make the most sense to start that? And, to your point, understood, you don't want to wait to where you're doing something where that winds up driving, where that becomes a controlling operation.
Thank you, Howard.
If my recollection is correct, I think when it comes to the Hunt Road, unless we were to tell them, don't, their plan is to try to get that finished and paved off before wet weather comes in, because that stands all by itself. It just needs to be finished, paved, and it can be put into service. So I believe that's the plan, there, but we can double check with that at this week's meeting.
Do we have, we're looking at what we're being told here and presented about the Nassau Creek Channel being completed November 2024, the wall in April 2025, and then the finishing segment and opening it up in June of 2025. Is there a schedule? Is there an actual schedule? Do we have scheduling and not only a weekly scheduling, but a monthly schedule, and then having weekly meetings to make sure where we're at on the schedule to meet these dates?
So I can answer that or speak to that a little bit, Supervisor Toffenelli. So the dates that Craig shared with you, those are our schedule projections. So there are a couple of different schedules. There's the contractual schedule for working days that the contractor is obligated to update monthly. There are look-ahead schedules that are updated weekly. Those are shared Thursday mornings with the weekly construction meetings with the project team. There is also a project completion schedule that the CM team has developed to project when we think this job is going to finish. So back to the first schedule that I mentioned, the contractor, the contractual schedules and the monthly updates. The contractor, I think, as you've been told previously, is very far behind on those contractual, on that contractual commitment. There are significant payment withholds being administered until they get those caught up. I will say that in the last month, they've made a lot of progress. We have 3 updates submitted and approved. So they're making progress. They are still 10 months behind, which is unacceptable. But they're working on it. And again, we're administering payment withholds. We put together a projection to come up with that June date based on Sukkot's original CPM schedule and the durations and the logic, the activity logic in that. And what we did was we plugged in the start date of when we started the channel work. And so that's where we are with that. It's not the official schedule. It's our best projection. It's better than nothing. Nothing is not acceptable. So it's the best we can do. And what the team needs to do on that is keep that updated to make sure that we're staying on track. with that projection. And hopefully here over the course of the next couple months, Sukkot gets caught up on the official schedules. And our sense on that is if we're looking at things correctly, that should match what we are estimating or projecting.
So my question, can
Yeah, please.
you talk about 10 months behind on their schedule. Can you explain 10 months behind? What are you talking about? What they've already done for the last 10 months or 10 months projected ahead?
For their official schedule, we are on the, I think the September 23 update right now.
Okay.
Maybe the October, I can't recall exactly where. So we had a meeting with the contractor scheduler, with the CM team scheduler, and these are both professional schedulers on both sides. We had a meeting, a month or 6 weeks ago it was, here's the approach, here's what's needed, and they have made a lot of progress. But they are, when I say 10 months behind, it's their official schedule updates.
Okay. All right.
Reflect work that's, that was 10 months ago.
I just wanted to get that clarified.
Sure.
Thank you. Because behind may mean one thing or another thing. I just wanted to get it. Thank you.
Right, it doesn't, I understood. It's, when I say behind, it's not the work, it's the schedule update, the actual schedule update itself.
I've made most of my comments in prior meetings, so I'll hold those. You have a item here on this funding summary of RSTP COG, but there's an asterisk. What is the purpose of that asterisk, and what is that telling us? I didn't find the asterisk in the notes.
Do you remember?
It's on the funding by source, RSTP COG asterisk. I always notice asterisk, so what does it mean?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember.
That was funding that was, I believe, associated with, it came from the Council of Governments, and they passed it on. I believe that, I want to say it's the COVID funding, but I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember anymore. There was an explanation on the,
We had $500,000 of unscheduled RSDP funds, and there wasn't a project, so we gave it to
That's
this project.
correct.
But with an asterisk, that's usually a footnote.
Right.
And you just define where that money came from, but what does the asterisk mean? What's the footnote?
Just to give the explanation that Supervisor Toffanelli remembered about where that money came from.
I apologize. I cut and pasted this from a broader spreadsheet, just
Okay.
the summary, and I didn't catch that, or I would have either left the footnote or taken the asterisk off.
What is we have here funding summary, and we have lots of stuff, and it comes out, looks good, but what is the total cost of the project as it stands today?
Well, we're projecting the 53 million. What's been incurred, cost incurred is just over 31 million.
You're projecting 53 million?
Correct.
Okay.
And sorry, just to weigh in, I just got a message that that you're correct, Mr. Pedro. It was a cut and paste, and the little asterisk says that it was approved by the COG board. That's the note.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none, any questions from the public? Thank you, Craig. You've got the next item also. 17.
Item 17, Agreement Public Works, authorize the interim Director of Public Works to execute contract change order 60-01 to contract 12002103 with Second Construction LLC in the amount of $2,100,000.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, before you for your consideration is a change order, a supplement. It's a change order 60. That was approved back in March of this year. It was covering an area that's basically on either side of the MSC Wall area, as well as the Pool Station and Hunt Road areas. That originally called for 90,000 cubic yards of material that was estimated that still remained to be moved at an estimated cost of $855,000. I want to pause here and say, where did that estimate, come from? My understanding has been once we started running into all these various cultural areas that we had to avoid, it interrupted the normal flow of the planned dirt work on this job. So with different areas that as they were worked on, individual change orders were approved, to deal with the dirt work. This 855, and again, Howard can speak to this surely better than I, but he went back and looked at what the average cost per cubic yard was when you looked at all of those prior T&M jobs to move dirt, and it came in at around $14 a square foot, somewhere in there. If you apply that to the 90,000, and that's where the $855,000 estimate came from. Not unreasonable. Looking at past history on this job, that's where the 855 came from. But nevertheless, as we sit here today, that we have, in fact, approximately 29,000 cubic yards of road excavation that has been completed between mid-March and July at an estimated cost of $1,992,000. And there's a chart that summarizes each of those months, the cubic yards and the costs that are estimated costs. And then on attachment 3, there's a description of the type of complex earthwork that's been going on this project, and lists the major excavation activities undertaken of each of those months. Why wasn't the county informed about this overrun sooner? One of the problems that we've had in general with the contractor is it's the strangest thing. They just don't bill timely. And that's a rarity in my experience. Usually a contractor wants to bill as quickly as they can. That has not happened. So we did not have billing information to judge where we were in relation to the $855,000. So the project team didn't realize that costs were exceeding the $855,000 budget cap until estimates were started to be prepared by Unico. And I've provided information about how those estimates are prepared. They're still estimates, but they're thoughtful in the sense that we have had information on who was working for Unico on this work, what equipment was being worked with on this job. And when they took the hours for labor, hours for various equipment, they applied their certified payroll wages to the labor hours and took the Caltrans equipment rates to the equipment. And that's where the estimates came from. How much more roadway excavation will be needed between now and the end of the project? If you do the math of the 90,000 cubic yards we expected originally, less the 29,000, that leaves around 61,000 left from the original estimate. And talking with Howard even this morning about this, there is an additional 20,000 cubic yards that's still a question that they're looking at. I think I erred in tying it to the wall. There is about 20,000 cubic yards of material that is select material it's part of the construction of this particular wall. You can't just have regular dirt. It has to meet certain criteria so it compacts properly, and it will do what it needs to do structurally. And again, Howard can speak to this, better, but that was included in the cost of the wall. And yet, having said that, there's still an issue of again, it just happens to be about 20,000 cubic yards of material that's still at question. If indeed we do have another 20,000 of cubic yards, add that to your 61,000 that was not moved previously, that would leave us 81,000 cubic yards. It still needs to be moved between now and the end of the project. So those projections are still being refined. And maybe I'm going to pause here, and Howard, can you clean up what I just said or add anything on that point?
Sure. Thanks, Craig. So just a couple of quick points. The $14, I think you mentioned a square foot. That's the number is $14.50 a cubic yard for the roadway X. So just to clarify that, all the other information was correct. Based on 90,000 cubic yards of material. As far as the 20,000 yards goes, just a couple of clarifications on that. I do want to let you all know that the select structure backfill, that is in round numbers, it's about 20,000 yards, maybe a little bit less. That was part of the price. That was part of that $6 million price for the MSC wall, and that's for furnishing and importing new material, placing, backfilling, compacting, all that. The additional 20,000 that Craig is speaking to, it's a different classification. That's the roadway excavation, right? So that's the roadway excavation is what we're paying for at time and materials. And Craig is correct that we're analyzing that a bit further because it's not, the case isn't that there's an extra 20,000 yards emerged. What it is there's 20,000 yards, that bid item or that work involves cutting and filling. And so essentially there was 20,000 yards of material that was going to be placed in that area where the MSC wall now is, in that area where the select structure backfill is now going to occupy. So essentially that 20,000 yards has to go elsewhere on the project or be lost on the project. That is something that the project team is looking on and we've been looking at that for several months, where to fatten up slopes to lose that additional material. So I wouldn't necessarily say that there'll be some extra costs, but it's not the extra is not the same type of work, the same extent of work as the roadway X's on the project.
Okay. Well, let me continue on there real quick. So what is the revised total cost for the roadway excavation contemplated under this, under CCO 60? Already mentioned the $1,992,000 for the work performed between mid-March and July 20. Again, these are estimates, not bills yet. Then we would project another $1,940,000 for the work to be performed between now and the end of the project. So combined total could be as high as $3.9 million. You subtract that $855 original budget from that, and that leaves a potential net increase of $3,077,000, or 3.1 rounded. Given that the project team is still refining these estimates, it's recommended that your board authorize myself to execute CCO 60-01, the supplement, in the amount of $2.1 million. That should cover Suket's costs through the end of September, and then staff would return to your board at its September 24th meeting with an update and recommendation on a supplement number 2 that would take us to the end of the project. And that's being done purposefully because we're hoping to have better information. Instead of estimates, we'll have some actual dollars that we're dealing with, actual bills that our project team can go through and analyze and validate. We also anticipate that the work is going to decrease or be of a less expensive nature, as Howard was just speaking to. That'll give us extra time to look at all those things and come back with as thoughtful of a recommendation for the remainder of this dirt work. So I've given you the math of how we arrived at the 2.1. So that's what I'm recommending at this time, is just sort of supplement one to make sure we have enough to get through September. It could get us further, but I would hold off on going for the full amount until we have, I'd like to see better numbers, actual bills that we can analyze as opposed to the estimates. But right now, we do have a contractor out there who's working not covered, by the change order, and would suggest that we don't want them to stop. Right now is the absolute worst time. They've got to continue to get out of that creek channel, get that cement channelization in place, and get that wall, going up. The winter's coming, and we got to get out of that, get out of that area. So maybe we missed it in tracking this properly up to that 855, but now we know we have a contractor doing work on our behalf in a very sensitive area. So the financing, mentioned that this is the projections I put in the status report. Those are the numbers that the FY 24-25 fiscal year final budget is based upon. So I've worked with CEO Hitchcock and making sure that is in there. And we just recommend that your board grant approval of this change order, authorizing me to sign it.
Questions from the board? Gary, you want to start?
They had a change order. They have a change order right now. They had a change order for $855,000 for 90,000 cubic yards. That was their change order. How we have a project manager and a construction manager come back and tell us that they had no idea just because Sukkot didn't bill is just crazy to me. Do we not have people out there on foot watching what's going on and not seeing it? When Sukkot hit $855,000, they never came forward and said, hey, we're at the end of our change order. What do you want us to do? Sukkot's running this whole project and has run this project. Now we're supposed to come up with another 1.9 million or whatever, it's 2.1 million minus the 855 or 1.992 plus 970 minus the 855 or $2.1 million when they didn't have direction to do it. They hit their top of their change order. They just kept on working, and now they expect to give us a bill, and this is, oh, by the way, this is what it is, and then we're supposed to believe this 970 is going to get through August and September when the 855 didn't even get through a third of the cubic yards that they were supposed to do for that 855. So I don't know how I'm going to vote for this and justify my vote to the public based on all the figures and everything that's coming to us and presented to us. And in fact, it even says we're still refining these estimates. What does that mean? This is just throwing a number out there saying, okay, we need another 970, but it could be the same way. We come back and Sukkot did another 2 million over the 970, and we still have 50 cubic yards to move. There's not, if they're going to accept the change order, then the change order is the change order. And they need to be on top of it themselves, not us. But we do have project managers and construction managers that should be on top of it and have somebody out there every day just to find the amount of equipment, the amount of men and hours that are being worked, so they can have somewhat of an estimate for this. When we get near the $970,000 that you're asking for to get us through, so we don't run into this situation again. It's blaming it on Sukit. You're just saying that, well, they didn't turn any billing into us, so we had no idea. How are you managing? How is that management?
You have, your concerns and your frustration are completely legitimate. I wouldn't disagree with any. If I could, a few more thoughts to maybe put this into context. So we wrote a time and materials or force count change order for $855,000. It was based on the historical cost, force count cost of the dirt to that point. That was the best information we had. That's how we came up with that budget. The way that it's supposed to work is the contractor bills as they go. They can bill one day at a time if they want. For reasons I don't think I understand, and I don't think I ever will, their billings are very, very delayed. And so it's a legitimate question to say, why didn't you know about this? Because we should have. The project team should have. When I look back on the history, and just for context, the $1.992 million, that is an estimate of that, and that's through July 20th. We have only received and approved bills through April 20th. The bills received through April 20th, they billed $360,000 in round numbers. The agreed amount was $262,000. So about a third of it was knocked down. So the CM team agreed to $262. 2 weeks ago, the CM team received billings from April 20th to May 20th in the amount of about $850,000. The CM team has placed a value on that so far of about $685,000. So what we've seen for the two packets of invoices so far is, what we feel the entitlement is a bit less than what they're billing. These are detailed packets. They take a while to review. The way that it went was week after week. After we executed CCO 60, we asked where their billings are, and each week it was, we'll have something next week, and then next week it was the next week. So that went on for 4 to 6 weeks. We got to about the middle of June, and I told Unico, we need to know where we're at, because in my mind, I need to know where we're at. So you need to do an estimate. We don't have their bills yet, but we do, since we do track hours, labor, equipment, materials every day, we need an estimate of where we are. That estimate took, another 4+ weeks to produce, and essentially that leads us to where we are now. So it's not how it hasn't gone how it should have. We should have known earlier, and I will say, on all ends, right? Everybody should have been more on top of it. So we had the information sooner. However, I will say that having the information sooner, it would have given your board the opportunity to digest that, more opportunity, and think about the implications, but it would not have changed the final outcome, the dollars either that they have submitted or the dollars that we have agreed to date.
Howard, I'm not so sure about that, but let me, where's the $970,000 coming from. Based on the other one was 14.5. What's the 970? What are you basing that off of?
I'm not sure, I'm not following the 970.
970,000 estimated cost for August and September work.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So that is so what we asked the CM team to do was go through, during this exercise of estimating, what are we looking at? It's based on an average daily cost, an estimated average daily cost of $25,000 a day. So that's where that comes from. It's a rough estimate. As Craig mentioned, our thought process is the dirt work from this point moving forward. We think it will be much less costly. If you look at the unit price for comparison's sake, our change order is based on an absolute unit cost of $14.50 a cubic yard. If you look at the 1.992, 29,000, that's just under $70 a cubic yard.
That's correct.
It's, 4 3/4 times as expensive. Some of the reasons for that, there was rock, there was blasting, there was wet grade out of the starting gate in the beginning of the spring, so unsuitable subgrade. There were the water issues, the high groundwater at the wall that Craig spoke of. So all those things are wrapped into that collectively, and I think those issues would have been extras regardless of whether or not all the roadway X was time and materials. It just, given the situation where we are on the job with this large amount of essentially T&M work, it really makes it makes it sting, a lot to have those additional issues come up.
Can you tell me what the original bid from Sukit was for this wall?
For the wall was,
For the wall and all the
it
work.
was $6,014,000.
Excuse me?
$6,014,000.
No, they're original.
For the
It
wall.
was like
for the
10, it
wall?
was like 10 million, wasn't it?
The original, I'm sorry, yes. It was about 10 million, yes.
And so I'm looking at this, and their change orders are totaling about 4 million, plus the 6 million they got for that change order. We're looking at, Here's where I'm at. In order for me to vote for this, I need some numbers, because we've voted on so much things that nothing, and been told so many things, and nothing since back in February, that it's just not, there hasn't been anything correct. First off, the 970, somebody needs to, if we do this change order, Sukit and Unico, when they get to 970 and they're not done, stop.
Right.
That's the extent of the change order, what's left, if anything is left. Okay, they can't go past the change order and expect to get paid for it. That's not in the contract. That's not what the change order.
You're absolutely correct. I'm very surprised that Sukit hasn't brought this up. It is very surprising. That's their job as a contractor to know exactly where they are. It's our job as well to know roughly where we are. And it just, like I said, there was a lag in this. It's not acceptable at any level. I understand the extreme frustration at this situation. The money, it has to be managed more closely, and I think it is. I think it is for where we are right now. Should not have taken this long, but it did, and I do apologize for that.
One last quick question. This 970,000 for August and September,
Right.
That number, was Suket involved in any way in coming to that number?
They were not. They were not. What that number comes from, we took the tentative work agreements, so every day for the time and materials work, Unico's inspector in the field gets with Suket's foreman, and here's the labor and equipment and any materials, usually it's not materials for roadway acts, right? Labor and equipment, they agree on hours, and they sign what's called a tentative work agreement. That tentative work agreement, it's from that Suket creates extra work bills. So right now, we are not waiting for Suket's extra work bills. We are preparing estimates of the extra work agreed to in the field with those tentative work agreements. So that is something, and that's why, back at I think it was the end of June, something like that, where I got with, or began July with Suket with Unico. It's like, yeah, we need to be doing this. We're not getting these bills in a timely manner. We need to know where we are to avoid a fire drill and a surprise, like this. So I agree. I totally agree with what you're saying.
All right, thank you, Howard.
Thanks.
Supervisor Hubbard?
To me, Howard, it just feels like the tail wagging the dog. And these projections, unless Suket actually sticks to it, I don't see how they're going to hold anyway. And it doesn't seem like anybody's holding Suket accountable, and I don't know how to do that. But it just seems like, again, 3 or 4 months down the road, there'll be another set of issues. How do we stop it?
So that's a great question, Supervisor Hubbard. And it is a great question. The thing to keep in mind for this is with the time and materials work, the force count work, it is at the owner's direction. So essentially, it's at the CM's direction. So the CM is, so what does that mean? We can speak to, labor and equipment that's on the project, and the team is looking at those things. So one of the big drivers for this cost is that big bulldozer that Craig mentioned, the D11T. It is an extremely expensive piece of equipment. It has a reduced rate. There's a rate when you're operating it, but there's also a rate on that piece of equipment, as every piece of equipment, of what's called an idle time rate. It's still a substantial amount of money. So we have been talking to Suket about when can we get rid of that piece of equipment, because it's very costly, what makes the most sense. And so that, to answer your question, that's one thing that can be, closely managed. And, it's one of those things where you don't want to pull it off too soon. The benefit of that piece of equipment is you can get through rock and harder material without having to blast, but you're not exactly sure how some of these areas are going to go. So you make the best educated estimate you can based on the previous work in the area, the previous performance of that machine. So all that's being weighed. So we are, I will tell you all that that's being discussed, multiple times a week, right? When we can get rid of that piece of equipment. So it is, just doing the best we can at managing the situation. And, when you see costs like this, I understand the conclusion that you come to that, well, it's not being managed. Look how expensive it is. It is very expensive, but I do want to tell you, the team is trying to manage it as best they can, manage the costs as best as they can.
Supervisor Stopper?
Not so much a question as a statement. A few things, with these questions and answers. I heard an answer to like, okay, monthly scheduling is behind all the way to last October 23. So they're trying to catch up now. Billing's behind exponentially, and we're trying to catch up now. And then I heard the answer to Mr. Toffanelli, yes, you know, these things fell off and, you know, top to bottom, there's, you know, it's an issue, but it wouldn't change where we're at today. Well, I have to say BS, because we would have kept track where that billing is. Scheduling would have been there. Now, with management not watching scheduling or billing and not knowing that they're that far behind until recently, how are they tracking and make sure that that scheduling and that billing was actually the work that was getting done? If they didn't know that stuff was getting reported. I mean, honestly, closer track of things on time and timely would have made for a more expedient process through managing a project. That's elementary. So I just, you know, that type of answer I can't accept, because it's just not true.
All right. If there are no further questions, I have a statement and a question. First off, we're acting like some of this is new information or we're, oh my, this has come up. Howard, you and I in this boardroom round and round back in January and February before we started this construction season, and we recognized that the construction management team had not been holding up their side, and we were told it's going to get better. I'm not so sure it's getting better. It's certainly getting more expensive, and we've paid millions of dollars to have this project managed, and it looks like it's not being managed, as I think Supervisor Stopper said, the tail's wagging the dog, and we're being led around. That's a statement, and that's how I feel, and I've told you that in private, and I've told the board that here in public. My question is, in our presentation, we said $53 million. Craig says that's the number. Do you agree? Is that the number?
I do agree. That is the number based on the new, that's the number based on the new dirt cost per day, right, roughing that in. Again, that's the, I think it's on the conservative side. We've had internal discussions on that, and you know, with both with Unico, with Craig and Robert, you know, about what to share with you know, what to share with the board. We want to paint a realistic picture. Don't want to make it so overly conservative, but look, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like our estimates have been overly conservative. Obviously, they haven't. There have been things, you know, out of, I think, anyone's control, that combined with the, you know, the current status of where things are, it makes it even a more bitter pill to swallow. I will say, I do think, I agree with the estimate, to answer the question. The other thing I want to share with the board to put things into perspective, this is based on, you know, part of this packet, there was, and Craig's statement was, well, we've moved 29,000 cubic yards out of the 90. And so a good question is, well, how is that number calculated? And I want to share with you that that's a rough number. It is not, and it's based on load counts. Very rough, and essentially it's for progress payment purposes only, just monthly estimates. What happens at the end of the project, you know, there'll be a full scan, topo of the whole job, so we'll know the final quantity. But and again, I don't want to give false hope, but that 29,000 number, that could be a little low, right? Because that assumes the inspector and the foreman have counted everything perfectly. You saw the operation, you saw the videos in there with the off-road dump trucks, the articulated trucks. There's, that's not a perfect science. It's basically a rough estimate as you go month to month. So I want to throw that out there, that number is not, it's not a precise number. But I will say, just, I'm rambling on, I do think the 53 million for where we stand now, I think that's, I agree with that estimate.
So you think that number's going to hold? You are a construction manager.
I do think it, I do think it's
53.
going to hold. I do.
Can I ask something, Mr. Chair?
Of course.
How do you have a load count when you don't have your monthly reports or billing in?
Two different things. The load count, that's done daily. That's done between the inspector and the foreman. Again, that's not all that does is get you in the ballpark.
Okay.
So and let's just say this wasn't a force count item, right? It was a typical item. You don't do a topo every month or even every quarter to get a precise quantity. You do an estimate, and that's what the load count method is. It's an estimate. So it's independent of the billings, just to get a rough idea of where you are.
Questions from the board? Other questions from the board? Is there any public comment on this item?
Mr. Chair, just one other comment. It goes back to the budget that we were talking about earlier. I know it's 53 million is the best number that we have. We have right now the best information that's available. But I've also wanted to draw your attention that as far as what money are we drawing down right now, it's all been state. We haven't actually drawn a penny from RIM yet. It's budgeted so that we can have it, but it'll be the last money out the door.
When the billing catches up?
Right, when everything gets squared away.
A year ago?
That if there's savings, it'll be in RIM, if there is.
Other public, go ahead, Ben.
Just curious, without billing, how billing's up to what, October 23 right now?
No.
July. Of this year? So they're caught up to billing up to that point?
Some of it are still pay estimates. All of your Unico, Dewberry, Dockin, their subcontractors, Alta, ESA, those are pretty current. I think I'm missing 2 actual bills for July. Otherwise, we're totally up to date with billed numbers, and we, period. Then when it comes to Sukkot, we have pay estimates up through June, I think it is, for the bid work. And then we have this dirt work that we've been discussing. So that's all been estimates from, April, that'd be from April forward.
With those estimates, how are they accountable to those estimates?
So the estimates are just for budgeting purposes, for purposes of, discussions between Craig and me and the board, of course, so we can know where we're at, because we can't compel Sukkot to bill any faster. I haven't seen this before where billings take so long. It's their internal process. We've talked about it and tried to convince them to take different approaches. For whatever reason, they haven't chosen to do that. But the billing, to your point, Supervisor Stopper, I think the October 23, just to clarify, that was in the context of schedule updates, not billing. So the billings are
They're both behind, but, the scheduling is much farther behind.
Much far, correct. Scheduling is much farther behind. The billings, Sukkett's billings are complete through June 20th, excluding the roadway X, right? So roadway X, CCO 60, we have received bills up through May 20th.
Well, just to reiterate, they both seem late hand in hand for a very good reason. It's harder to track and harder to go back and verify, on their end. I know. But, we could debate that all day, but that's my point of view, and I'm not changing it.
All right. So we've had public comment, we've had discussion, we have an item in front of us. I'll call the question.
I have a question, just
Certainly,
take a
Supervisor
four-fifth
Tominelli.
vote. No, just not a four-fifths vote, correct?
No, there's a split in how jurisdictions handle that.
I'm sorry.
There's a
Just there.
split in how jurisdictions handle that. The law isn't especially clear on the point.
What is your counsel?
Like I said, there's no case on it. I think that there's no budget transfer associated, so it's not certainly a 4/5. And different counties do it as a 3/5, others as a 4/5. There's no clear law.
Okay. I'm looking for a one-armed attorney. So on the other hand, what
I
is
asked
the call?
this question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I asked this question earlier. We've already budgeted the amount in our budget.
This item does not include a budget transfer.
It doesn't include a budget transfer.
That's correct.
So that at that point, as we've used it in the past, it's a 3/5 vote.
Counselor?
That is how we've done it in the past.
Counselor, you agree it's a 3/5 vote?
As best as I can tell, yes.
Okay. Very well. 3/5 vote. Is there a motion?
Wait.
Go ahead, Gary.
I'm sorry, but we haven't transferred this money to the budget. We did a preliminary budget. We've added this money in from RIM since then. We're going in next month for our final budget where all of this is in there. We're going to be voting on this, all of the money that's being transferred in there at that time. It was never presented at preliminary budget. So in that being said, then we are transferring money.
This item I will let the experts speak to the budget pieces, but I can say that this item does not include a budget transfer.
Okay.
It was in preliminary.
Yeah, I got you. Teresa, did you want to add anything?
No, I just wanted to reiterate, council is correct. This item does not include a budget transfer. The funding for this will be part of the final budget.
I thought in the preliminary budget that those funds were encumbered to be used, right? Is that correct?
My understanding for the preliminary budget, the one adopted in June, is it reflects what the board directed at your May 21st meeting, which included that you had you already approved the change order 60, the original, and then you had change order 63, which was the wall.
Okay, so then.
It takes you up through the wall.
If that's the scenario, then we didn't encumber those funds. Because this is different than that.
No, I think,
So now I'm thoroughly confused. Can we punt this to another time?
We'll go with what council says. You don't need a 4/5 vote. How about a 2-2 vote?
That would not carry a motion,
I'm sorry.
any motion.
all right. Madam CEO, do you have something you want to add before we call the vote?
We could bring this back at the next meeting with the budget.
All right. Let's,
The budget is our next meeting, which is 2 weeks away. I would like to do that myself.
That is correct.
And then give me a little bit more time to digest some of these numbers and ask some questions of Howard and Craig on defining some of these numbers here, because I'm really concerned about giving them 855 and they just blew through it to 2 million, and now we're giving another 970, and I have very strong feelings about everything on this project, that 970, we got to have something in place, at least to make sure if we give them that 970, they don't blow through that, and then we come back and say, well, you know, we're now at 2 million on that, and there's still 50 cubic yards to move. I just feel uncomfortable right now about it. I need some more discussion with at least Howard and Craig on this particular thing. I met with Craig yesterday in his office, and we kind of went through it a little bit. But
I would support pushing it to the next meeting also, just for the fact that it'll probably be brought back and we'll be doing all this over again anyway.
I agree.
So we'll bring this back, but this will be a separate agenda item, and the budget item will be part of the budget.
That is correct.
Okay, and this is the money that we're talking about. These are the RIM funds that we're talking about transferring, just being real clear.
That is correct. There's no general fund associated with this item at this time.
I think it might be cleanest for the clerk if we had a motion to continue it to the next meeting.
Please, thank you.
Moved by, continuance moved by Supervisor Stoppers, our second.
second.
All in favor of continuing this to our next meeting?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back. All right, welcome back. We will continue with item 18.
Item 18, action item, planning, conduct a study session and provide direction to the planning department regarding continued general plan implementation.
Peter?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Peter Maurer, Interim Planning Director. So I hope this item is a little more uplifting and positive than the last one. It wouldn't be calm. Anyway, so general plan implementation, we've done a lot, but there's still a long way to go. And we know with the adoption of the zoning code, 6 weeks ago now, we ticked off a number of those items. And because of that, we now have the ability to sort of shift our focus into some of the other things. We do have a lot of items that we are currently working on, things that have been directed our way from prior board action. I would like to do a quick update of where we're at with those, and then move on to some of the other things that we need to accomplish or we would like to accomplish over the next year or two. So just going in order of the things that I listed in my memo to you, we have the Oak Woodlands Ordinance. That there's a draft that's been prepared working with the Hardwood Advisory Committee. We are working on the environmental document for that right now. Don't have a timeline specifically, but the intent is to get that before the board before the end of the year. The greenhouse gas reduction plan, I did just communicate with the sub-consultants that did the analysis for Sierra Business Council on the original plan. There's been a bit of miscommunication between myself and them in trying to come up to speed on where we are at and what the direction was, but I think we're finally moving forward. I expect to get a proposal next week so that we can get that reanalysis done of the Planning Commission's direction, and that too should be before you. It doesn't have to go back to the Planning Commission, it can go directly to you as soon as that analysis is completed. I don't have a timeline for that, but again, I anticipate that to be done sometime this fall. Cultural Resources Management Ordinance. As you recall, back in February, you adopted an urgency ordinance That one unfortunately has been languishing a bit in my shop. Just a lot of things going on, limited bandwidth. But the next step on that is to actually prepare the draft ordinance that would implement the general plan policies. I am hoping that we can do that fairly quickly. I did develop a little committee to help give me some guidance early on. We've had several meetings, got some good recommendations, just a matter of sitting down and crafting that ordinance now so we can then bring it forward. I'm hoping that we can do it under the general plan, drawing a blank on the term that we use under CEQA, that we rely on the EIR for that, and they were simply implementing the programs that we've identified in that. So we don't have to go through a separate environmental document on that. But there are a lot of moving parts with that. There's the Mills Act, there's the Department of Interior recommendations, there's a lot of different things that we need to bring together to make sure that that is functional and meets the requirements of the general plan, as well as the desire of the county to keep it within, we could really broaden this ordinance out to really address all kinds of things, but I really want to try to keep it as narrowly focused as possible. Short-term vacation rental ordinance. I know that Martin has been getting a lot of comments on it, so have I. The draft was put out 2 weeks ago now, I think, or maybe a week ago, and we are getting a lot of comments. The comment period is really for the environmental document, the negative declaration that was prepared, but obviously the issue is the ordinance itself. The end of the CEQA document, CEQA review period is September 13th. At that point in time, we will take all of the comments, most likely sit down and get our heads together and figure out, do we need to modify it? I can think of a number of issues where some of the suggestions we've gotten already are worthy of consideration. Will be not redrafting it, but revising that ordinance, and then taking it to the Planning Commission. And again, it should be before this board before the end of the year. I'm looking at probably November or December for that ordinance. Copperopolis Community Plan. We have my predecessor, Mr. Elliott, had worked with community members, developed a draft plan. There was a lot of repetition that I was concerned about, a lot of duplication of policies that are already in the general plan that I felt needed to be sort of scaled back a little bit. I've worked with a number of members of the community, along with Supervisor Follendorf, and we're very close to wrapping that up. I hope to have that to the Planning Commission in second meeting in September, and then back to this board when Ms. Follendorf is back from her maternity leave, so that she can be a party to the final adoption of that. And then the last thing that we're working on right now is not directly involved with planning, but we have some input in it, but there are a number of general plan implementation measures associated with it, is the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And I'll just need to continue to work with Teresa and her shop on moving that thing forward, and whatever we can do to assist in that project, we will certainly do that. So that's sort of an update of where we're at with broad variety of different items that we are working on. So we now sort of move into what else do we need to do. And the first thing on my list here is the open space plan. This is an update to our conservation and open space element. It is mandated by the state, and we have to get it done by January 1st, 2026. So we have just a little bit over a year to do that. And there are a number of things that, the legislation is specific but vague, if I can say that. There's, these are the things we have to do, but it's not really clear what those things are because it's not very well defined in the state law. But I don't want to get into a long discussion of that here today because that's something we will be working on in the future, but I think we need to set that as a priority because of the state deadline that we have on it. special event ordinance, as we adopted the new zoning code, there's a couple of things that we sort of set aside as being, we need to really spend more time focusing on this, and I think this is one that, given some of the history we've had with weddings and all the different event venues we have, we really need to spend some time in developing some new standards and figuring out how we can accommodate special events at the same time, not adversely impact neighborhoods where they exist, where they occur. So that's something that I would recommend that we do spend some time working on that. During the zoning ordinance update hearing process, I'd heard some concerns from Supervisor Toffanelli about constituents that had issues with private shooting ranges on their property or just shooting in general. Similar concerns from other members about, and just from the public, on off-road vehicle use on private property. I don't know if that's a big issue. I just am bringing that up because it was something that was raised during that time, so privately between staff and the public, and we hadn't really addressed it in the zoning code. If it's something that is a priority, we can certainly look at that. The mineral extraction zone is another one of those items that were sort of deferred during the zoning code update. The state law has changed a lot. We just really need to take a closer look at that and come up with some new requirement or new standards and procedures for mining operations and mineral extraction, particularly our reporting process with the state. Under SMARA, the Surface Mining and Reclamation Act. So that is something that we would like to see addressed in the future. Again, it's up to you is where you want to set our priorities. We've also, the last time the Williamson Act review process was, there's a resolution that was adopted in the 70s, I believe. And the procedures have changed dramatically over time. It's sort of shifted back and forth between our office and the Department of, or the Agricultural Department. Because of the zoning requirements that go along with it, we end up taking on a fairly significant role in that. And I think it would be worthwhile to just review the existing resolution and update it where it's necessary. Just so we have the procedures down, the timeframes that are established aren't realistic in the current resolution. And we've developed a pretty good process working cooperatively with the Department of Agriculture, and it's just something that I think would be helpful for us and for the public who are interested in entering into a contract to have an updated resolution. So that's something that we would be recommending we work on. It's been something that's been kicking around our office for a number of years and just hasn't risen to the top as far as a priority, but it was something that we would like to get done. One of the things that I had I've always advocated for and continue to do so is, we adopted our general plan 5 years ago. It's not something that should sit on the shelf. Just like a business plan, it should be reviewed periodically. Is it working for us? Do we need to tweak it a little bit here? And we're coming up on the 5-year anniversary of adoption of that plan, and I think it would be good to do a review of that plan, not necessarily amending it. Let's see, is it working for us? Do we need to make changes? But I think we need to review it to say, hey, this is working for us. Here are changes that have occurred in the community, either through demographics or economics or whatever it may be, to say, maybe we should go off in this direction a little differently. So I think that's something that would be worthwhile bringing back to you just for consideration of, one, we may find, hey, it's working great, move ahead. Another one, and I don't know the answer to that question, but that was something that I think would be important to do so that the plan doesn't get stale. We need to keep it fresh, we need to keep it viable. Then the final thing on my list was community plans. As I mentioned, we're almost done with the Copperopolis plan. I think that, the area of the county that really has not had many plans is in District 3. I know that, when we were doing the general plan update, there wasn't a lot of interest in the Highway 4 corridor communities, but I know that there is some interest in Arnold, and if we want to move forward with additional community plans, I think Arnold would be the best place to start. There's one thing that wasn't on my list I should probably mention is our housing element. It is due for an update in 2027. That's usually by the time that it goes through all the review and adoption by, or approval by the state, which has to be done, I believe, on July 1st of 2027. That's just 2 years away. And the housing element is a very difficult, complex process of state approval that we need to get started on right away. So between that and the open space plan with the deadline of January 1st, 2026, those would be my two top priorities as far as focusing staff resources on.
Sorry, can you say that again? What were your top two priorities?
The open space plan, the state law change that requires us to update that, the conservation open space element by January 1st, 26, and our housing element, which would be needed to be completed pretty much by April of 27, so they can go through the review process by the state before July. Those would be, I think, important things that we need to focus on, as well as, the completion of those projects that are, currently in process, and then anything else that you think are, worthwhile to focus our resources on. I will tell you that our resources are limited. We don't have, a lot of people. There's not a lot of money to go out and hire a lot of consultants with. But I think that, we can certainly work towards many of these items over the next, year and a half, and get some of them done. That concludes my presentation. I do have a copy of the implementation, the list of all the implementation measures, if you want to reference any of those. I don't know that's necessary. It's included in your packet. If you have any questions about any of these items, feel free to, I'll try to elaborate a little bit more on them. Do you have any questions of me at this point?
If I could just clarify before we get to other questions. So according to this, by the end of this year, we got queued up to be complete Oakland Woodlands Ordinance, greenhouse gas reduction, short-term vacation rental, and possibly, and Parks and Rec plan, and possibly Copperopolis Community Plan. Is that correct?
Yes.
For the new year. That's a pretty big to-do list.
But it's not just to do, it's something they've been working on
to wrap up
for quite some time, so.
Most of these are in the last quarter of process, some down the last 10-yard
I think we
line.
should talk about priorities, but I'd be thrilled if we got those done.
So would I.
Yeah.
Supervisor Stopper, you have questions?
Some, and also, thank you, Peter, with our planning director leaving and you coming back and you being here during this time is kind of crucial because of your, knowledge and everything, being here through the process. It's really appreciate having you back and being here with us, working on it once again.
Thank you.
It's been, you've helped us pass the finish line on quite a few things, and I'm glad to have you here with us again to do it. It's
Here.
a pleasure working with you. That said, I'm in agreement with all these things, plus or minus and everything. Jack Aramindy said it very well, these things, yes, they're in the last quarter, we're passing the finish line on them, but I'm more than pleased to get those done at this time and everything. These other things you bring up, the priorities that we need to put up just because of timelines and everything, I concur with you. It's a decision on the board what that looks like in the end, but, those definitely should be priorities because we do have deadlines on them. So yes. I'm in support of moving forward on those. Some of these other things, let's see. Want to go short-term rentals. It's going to be a debate going both ways. But it is something that needs to be addressed and refined because the times are what they are, and that has to do with our housing development also, just because a lot of the optics are that a lot of that's going towards rentals when people feel that they should, or short-term rentals when they feel that it should be able to possibly be available to long-term rentals, per se. But there's the one I personally feel that we need to tread carefully on is the shooting range and off-road vehicle tracks. You know, these are standards of a rural community that we've enjoyed throughout time and growing up here. But at the same time, you know, when the community becomes more dense and everything, you know, there has to be consideration of your neighbors. You know, a lot of people say, like, well, it's like the old Jefferson movement is like, you know, don't tread on me. Well, they think that's like, don't let me do what I want on my property. That's a double-edged blade. Don't tread on me means that, you know, don't let your sewage run off your property onto mine at the same time. So, you know, we all need to be conscientious of our neighbors. And at the same time, you know, off-road vehicles, when we move forward on that, because we have issues, people are trespassing on certain properties, noise, and the property owners don't really care per se, or there's been events held in certain areas where it's just not allowed, like in a HOA area. And so we need to be conscientious of that, but at the same time, we need to do it in a way that still allows it for, you know, the people that are doing it the correct way, and also not to tread on the people, don't tread on them. When it comes to, a lot of those off-road vehicles are used for businesses or small personal farms. Like I can still drive a gator around on my small piece of property there in Rancho Calaveras, and you know, as long as it's during the day, and it's like doing my yard work around there, especially in these years when I start getting a little bit older from here, because I'm going to need that to move around. So I mean, all these things are stuff that I believe should be done. How we do it, like the Williamson Act, you know, I don't, personally, in my perspective, and talking with some people at the state level, I don't think there needs to be much change. You know, I think what we have for the most part works. I think that maybe it's debatable with council, you know, on what their perception is, and my perception in talking to people at the state level's perception, you know, how far we need to go with that. I don't think we need to go very far with the changes on that, but more so making sure we're staying current with the times and not over, because it could really cause a lot of complications with a lot of stuff out there. So I'm in favor of everything you have here to one degree or another. You know, getting the stuff done this year, the two ones with the deadlines that we're talking about, definitely let's move forward on those, and the other stuff as it fits in. And you have the or the planning department has the capacity to get them done. You know, I don't want to put pressure or you know, deadlines when it's not realistic. You know, let's get a good job done on each one of these as we move forward. Oh, and the other thing I want to bring up is to consider when we do this 5-year review, because you know, I've always been in favor of not letting it hit the bookshelf and keeping it open on the desk, is, you know, there's, as you said, there's not a lot of money in the coffers right now for consultants and everything. One of those major things is if we decide we want to go in a different direction, we have to consider an environmental impact report to be able to justify those type of things. And so something for when we get to that point for the board to consider is if we do want to make changes, as we talked in the past, some of the greenhouse emission, you know, when we put that forward, the EIR that was done is more than adequate, but at the same time, there was considerations that weren't necessarily in it that I think this board has talked about. And if we want to make any changes to that in the future, we have to put the money there for the consultants to make those changes to EIR so that we can do it legitimately. So I think that if the board wants to do any amendments or changes in the futures, we need to consider if we're willing to put the money where our mouth is.
Yeah, just to touch on that point, wouldn't necessarily require an EIR, but we would certainly have to do some type of environmental review for any general plan amendment that we make. It could be an EIR, you know, just, again, it depends on what
the level
of change is, yes.
Absolutely. I agree. That's all I have.
Martin?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Peter. I think the 5 projects that you've earmarked to kick over the goal line before the end of the year would be phenomenal, as Supervisor Germany said. I really appreciate the help that you've given us so far regarding the short-term rentals. I do have a couple of community meetings coming up that I'd love to see if you're available to help steer people along, which would be wonderful. I think maybe the good plan would be to get those over the, as I say, kick them over the goalpost and then look at the 5-year at the beginning of next year and see where we are. But I agree with everybody in the fact that I think everything you put forward is really important. Thank you.
Gary?
Yeah, I think the top 6 that you have here you're working forward on is good. I'll agree with that. The cultural resources is kind of there. We have till February to get it in effect, so that means you have to be bringing it sometime in October or November to us, because there's a 30-day once we approve it. Yeah, and then you have to set it out to the public for their response before it even comes to us or Planning Commission. So that's a real tight schedule for that one.
I'm painfully aware of that.
The other issue, the housing, were you here the last time we did the housing update?
Yes.
Yes, and it was mass hysteria because we were really late on getting it done. So I appreciate you looking 3 years ahead on that item because it was real hysterical.
We were fortunate enough that we have run an 8-year timeline, not a 5-year timeline. Otherwise, we'd be late now.
Yeah. So thank you for doing that. And then, you know, the open space, obviously, we have to do that. So, and that's by 2026. So I'm fine with everything you have here. Amanda's not here for the Copper Community Plan, but I know they're working on it. She tells me about it every so often, so I know they're getting very close and having that adopted.
Yes.
So I'm fine with the 6 items that you have here, and the housing and the open space.
I would just agree on, everybody says, certainly open space, we need to comply with the state law by the deadline, and I'm sure we will do that. I would caution when you get to the Section B list, what's our heads on, some of these are going to be really sticky.
Oh, yeah.
Special events, Williamson Act, shooting, off-road tracks. I will probably not be here for that discussion with you gentlemen, but I would, and the words of Mark Twain, a man who holds a cat by the tail learns a lesson they can learn in no other way. So picking up the cat, it's going to have something to it. Peter, are there other things that we could help you with?
I guess the only other thing I would ask at this point in time, but so, you know, we obviously have, you know, sort of our marching orders of the 2 with the, you know, state deadlines as well as the, you know, things that we're currently working on. Should we have some spare time? Are there any of the other items down there? I heard that the 5-year review is probably sort of up there on the, you know, list, but maybe wouldn't come until the beginning of next year, just given the realities of what we have on our plate already.
I would love to talk to you about the possibility of doing the community plan in Arnold.
Okay. Is there any of those other items in, referred to as Part B, that are just like, don't bother? Or, yeah, I'd really like to see that get done. From our perspective, for the kinds of things that we have going on in our department, we probably will need to grab that cat tail soon, as far as the special events ordinance.
Yes, I was going to say that.
And the other things are, Arnold Community Plan, I think that would be a good one. I don't think that the shooting range or off-road vehicle tracks are high priority item. It just hasn't really seemed to, so it came up as an issue and now it sort of calmed down. So I think we can sort of set that aside unless we just suddenly have nothing better to work on. And the other ones would be, the mineral extraction zone update and a minor procedural update to the resolution for Williamson Act. And I agree with you, Supervisor Stopper, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's just sort of tweaking it a little bit so that it's consistent with what we have to go through in order to get those to the board and get them in.
If I could add one thing to Williamson Act, I'm working on this on a statewide level with RCRC, and there are a lot of moving parts. I would hate to go through a whole bunch of work to find out that everything changed at the state level. So keep that in mind as you manage your time.
All right. Well, unless there are any further direction, comments from the public on any of these things?
This is not action item, this is an informational item. Is there any?
Sorry, it is an action item.
It is an action item.
Let's give any direction. There's no formal, ordinance or resolution taking it, but,
We will take
we have to
public
make a
comment
motion?
regardless. Is there public comment on this item?
We do have online public.
We have public comment online. Very well. Who's ever online, rules apply online as they do in the room. You'll have 3 minutes. If you're addressing something that's not on the agenda, I will cut you off and ask you to speak to that specific agenda item when it comes up. Madam Clerk?
Alan Facino, Calaveras Planning Coalition. Can you hear me?
Yes, Tom, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you for taking a careful look at general plan implementation today. We at the CPC agree that those soon-to-be completed items listed in the staff report under current planning department assignments, including the Copper Apples Community Plan, are in fact soon to be completed. And we're also thrilled with that. We at the CPC also agree that the open space related other projects, the open space plan update, special events, shooting, OHV use, mineral extraction zone, Williamson Act procedures should also be a priority coming up. With the zoning map and the zoning code updates, we've done a lot to address residential, commercial, and industrial development. Now it is time to address mining, agriculture, and open space uses in more detail. We at the CPC agree that the Highway 4 corridor community plans like the Arnold Plan are the next one in lines after the Copper Apples Community Plan is adopted. Please consider adopting design guidelines in addition to the community plans for these communities. The zoning ordinance update you recently approved eliminated the use of the PD zone for design review. The intent was to replace the PD zone design review with community design guidelines. The time for that replacement on the Highway 4 corridor is now. Thank you for considering our input today.
Thank you. Is there other public comment online?
We have no further public comment online.
Very well. We don't have a specific action, but I think we've given direction. Is everybody good with that? I can't really call a vote on it.
Can make a motion for Peter to proceed as we discussed within your capacity.
I'll second that.
With a big thank you again, Peter, for helping us across the, thank you.
Happy to be here.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Carry? Aye. 4-1, one absent. Peter, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And really, you could get these across the goal line by the end of the year. There'll be a nice bottle of Murphy's wine for you. Thanks, Peter. All right, move on to supervisor announcements.
In compliance with Government Code 53232.3D, board members shall provide brief reports on any meetings attended at the expense of the local agency and may make other announcements or report out.
All right, Ben.
Just to report that I had a conflict in meetings because I was at Central Sierra Economic Development District meeting along with a workforce joint, and then also Molo Job Training Agency meeting on the same day up in Sonora, conveniently, but Martin went ahead and attended for me the Hardwood Advisory Committee meeting, and then reported out to me, so I'll let him report to you on that. And then I'll be at, this Thursday, I'll be at the CSAC legislative meeting. And other than that, thankfully, I have not cost the county any more money.
Always appreciate it. Gary?
I attended the Mountain County's EMS agency meeting on Friday. We will soon be getting an invoice for our portion of it. I will forward it to you, Teresa, so we can stay in that JPA. It's a very good JPA. It's well run, and it provides all the ambulance service and air service for emergencies and first responders in the county.
Supervisor Everett.
Thank you, Chair. As Supervisor Stopper said, I did attend the Hardwoods Advisory Committee, and the ordinance looks like it's in great shape going towards the Planning Commission, so that's all on going along as planned. And also, I don't know if I have to report it, but I did attend as an alternate for Supervisor Follendorf yesterday's strategic planning meeting.
Thank you. I have nothing I'm required to report, Madam CEO. Madam Council? Clerk of the Board?
No.
Very well, we stand adjourned.
Did anybody leave a pair of glasses?
Record.